breaking news from the SEC, more awards dished out for Carolina football this week. Both Kai Kroger and Nick Emanwari have been named players of the week. Nick Emanwari is the defensive player of the week in the league. And Kai Kroger, after booming it an average of 53 yards a punt this weekend, has been named the special teams player of the week. Last week, Kennard and Stewart took home awards. So that's 4 in the last 8 days. Not bad, dude. Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, shooting, I feel like Kennard and Stewart could have had another. I mean, they had another day today or on Saturday as well. So we've had good individual play and at times good team play. So it's been this was a fun one to watch. I was up in the mountains playing golf this weekend with 16 or 15 other crazy Gamecocks, and we almost burned the house down.
That's awesome.
They left the actual stove on all night. They literally actually almost burned it down.
Oh, really? No.
I'm just kidding.
There was a guy who swam out in the middle of Lake Kiwi at about 5:30. Huge game. Not gonna name drop.
Y'all celebrating, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, good times.
Got to win more often, man.
It was worth the celebration. I mean, they embarrassed Kentucky on their home field, Pat. I mean, I mentioned earlier, I was joking with John. I was like, we you hear this crap all the time about this like big blue wall. They had one actual real good year with their offensive line. Outside of that, it's just some narrative that took off that actually doesn't exist. And they walked right into that ballpark this weekend and knocked them on their ass. They took them out behind the woodshed. They beat the crap out of them, and the scoreboard indicates it.
2.5 quarters in, the stadium was empty.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina's more physical team. They're better. They're better coached. All of that. I mean, I didn't expect to see all that, but that's exactly what we saw.
Well, I'm going to say something not very nice. Kentucky's quarterback stinks. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
1.2 quarterback rating out of like 160.
God, Uncle Rico could play better than that.
I've never seen a quarterback rating that low ever. Mike,
Yeah,
wow. 1.2.
No. And look, I would want to, and you're probably right, Patrick. The thing about him coming in, there was just no tape. There's no tape.
Yep.
And so you didn't know. But I want to believe it was more about what Carolina did defensively to take him out of it. You know,
they just didn't want to pass the ball. Like
No. Well, and that's been the knock on Kentucky over the Stoops era. Even when they had the 2 10-win seasons, the passing game has been anemic for the most part. Now, they had the year with Will Levis and Wan'Dale Robinson. Those are 2 pros, and that was the year they had a semblance of a passing game. But they always seem to be pedestrian at best, and that, you can always blame offensive coordinators on play calling. But at the end of the day, it goes up the hill to the head coach. And Kentucky fans are tired of seeing offenses look like that. Now, I haven't seen a Kentucky offense dominated that well in a long time. That was just pure annihilation. And so
I feel like we got after the quarterback early.
Yes.
And I think put some pressure on him and made him blink a little bit and patter the ball a little bit and start looking for the rush, which I think did end up contributing to the 2 picks that we ended up having. We had a sack fumble. I mean, there was we got a good freaking defense.
They're really good.
And it's fun to watch. I mean, the past 3 years, I would say we've been very reliant on forcing turnovers. We've forced 6 already this year through 2 games, but they're great, but I don't think teams are going to be able to drive the field in this defense very often. They're going to create a negative play here or there and just going to put teams behind the sticks, and the secondary is good.
Yeah, they played 10 guys up front this weekend as well, which was awesome to see. And all 10 of the guys that played up front on the defensive line, Monkel Goodwin received the lowest number of snaps, 15, not 5. So, I mean, Pat, by the time you get to the fourth quarter, they're fresh, man.
Yep. I mean, if you can get the 3 technique tearing off the football in the fourth quarter, that's a difference maker.
Yeah, it's and that when you transition over to offense, and that's obviously they definitely took steps this weekend. They definitely took steps. But I'll tell you this: there were two main takeaways, and you're the football guy, so I'll let you do it in your football talk. But one was going into the game, Flint had made this point time and time again. Steven made the point last week. Perry made the point. Get him out of the pocket. Get him out of there and get this thing reset so he can use his legs if he needs to, but also it's going to be a throw first mentality. It created a bunch of easy throws for him to get comfortable early and to stay comfortable, make some plays late. That's number one. My second takeaway, though, I'm going to steal a term from JC because I love it. Man enough. They played man enough football on both lines of scrimmage this weekend, and that's indicated by just a couple of plays without going any further. One, the stop on fourth down of the Wildcats on their own 31-yard line. I mean, how many times have we been around here and the other team's telling you, kind of give you a heads up, we're going to run it down your throat here and move the chains, and they do. And Carolina said not so fast this weekend. Late in the game on Carolina's side, they were able, while the rushing yards were low, Pat, they were able to run the football when necessary, and that really counted. So your thoughts on all that?
No, I mean, 4-minute offense is one of the most dangerous things in football. If you can run the clock out when you need to, and teams are going to put 7, 8, 9 guys in the box, that's going to be a difference maker. And I think that is something that was very heavily incorporated into the offseason program, from strength and conditioning to bulking up to bringing Sean Elliott back and doing all those types of things. Is kind of an attitude. So, no, I thought it was awesome. Although, I mean, offensively, the statistics weren't incredible. I mean, LaNorris was 11 of 15, efficient. Get the ball out of his hand, let him make confident throws, dial them up and need to dial them up. But we only had 50 plays of offense. Like, that's a pretty good recipe too for a young quarterback who doesn't have a crazy amount of experience, is to not put him out there and make him throw it 40 times in a game. That's a stressful situation. Spreading the ball around too. Mazio had 3, Jared had 4, Michael Smith had 3, Simon had 2 and a touchdown. Like, this was, I think, what we were expecting, spreading the ball out, getting the ball to your athletes in spaces. We were expecting week 1 against an inferior opponent, but you go out there and you execute it against Kentucky has a pretty good defense. Put up 31 up against them. So, no, I was very pleased, and that was, I guess, why one of the guys on the trip went for a little afternoon swim.
All right. You want to watch some film? You want to watch some film?
Let's do it. I jotted some notes down too to make me stay on point so I don't ramble.
And of course, Pat, as everybody knows, is the host of Tailgate Talks, the newest episode coming out this Wednesday, and you won't believe who's going to be on it. We'll let Pat tell you that here in just a little while.
You track them down. You can't hide.
You
can run, but you can't hide.
Unbelievable. All right, here you go. Pat, first score of the game to Mazio Bennett.
I mean, like, play calling here. I mean, it's 1st and 10. We're in plus territory. You might as well take a shot here. LaNorris just opens up and makes it – you kind of feel like eyes right, looking the safety off. And then it's a post-corner concept. And the outside receiver does a great job of crossing the face of the safety and bringing his eyes. Rocket does a great job in sitting in the flat of holding that flat defender, and it's a 2-level read. If that corner bails deep, he hits Rocket in the flat. If that corner stays tight or that backer stays tight there, then you go over the top. And, yeah, I mean, Josh Simon does a great job of sealing the edge right here, defensive end rolling. So LaNorris was able to cozily set his feet in the pocket or just outside of the pocket and make a great throw. And that's probably a play that a fullback could have scored on, catching that ball right there.
Oh, yeah.
Not much you got to do after the catch.
Yeah, only the good ones, Pat. Guys,
only the good ones.
Yeah, and getting him out of the pocket, something we had mentioned there a little while ago. I mean, it's he's good out there.
Yeah, I mean, his eyes always stay downfield, outside the pocket. So I think it's something that we're going to dive into more as an offense. And I thought Dow did a really good job calling plays this week, and was able to put us in situations to win.
To that end, Pat, because we're watching this for those on YouTube, and the thing that is glaring is how wide open Bennett is. So you mentioned Dow and you like the call. What is it about that call that caused Kentucky to basically lose Mazio Bennett and have him on an island out there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, a kind of a post wheel concept. So the number one receiver ran a post and he crossed the face of the safety, kind of taking the safety's eye. So the corner has outside leverage and they're kind of bracketing him here. But when he crosses the face of that safety, that corner is supposed to drop back into the opposite third and not carry him. And he carried him, and that just left Mazio with an outside release on that nickel backer. I mean, you got 2 covering 1 and 0 covering 1.
0.
So just a great play call. I mean, but if that guy stays and you hit Rocket in the flat, and you have an easy 7-8 yard completion. If not, you can break a tackle and score 2 because it'd be 1-on-1 in that situation. So just a great play call. Flood the zone, and then a great ball. I mean, he knows how open he is. That's one that you throw, then you're like, oh, God, please, 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 just catch it. So perfectly executed play. And not to mention, it's a freshman to a freshman, boys and girls. That's
freshman to a freshman, yeah.
That's encouraging.
All right, how about this one here, man? Just, gosh, these ends, Stewart and Kennard or something.
Well, I mean, the first thing that jumped to my mind was like that took like a second and a half, like 1/1000. Oh shoot, they're right in my face.
Yeah.
So I mean, just didn't have enough time. I mean, it looks like they're running a mesh concept. So 2 receivers are crossing, then you got the high post guy in the middle. So they're basically reading man zone, and if it's man, then you're throwing to the under route on the mesh concept, and if it's zone, you're going to hit the guy at the top of the TP. And he didn't have enough time to go from first read to second read to third read. This is just Dylan Stewart putting his hands in a 340-pound tackle and just, like I said last week, walking the dog. And just, I mean, he's a man amongst boys. He's 18 years old, and golly, he's in 2 games. He is as advertised.
The one against the triple team, like that became a Twitter sensation, not just for Gamecock fans, but people around the country are like, holy crap, this kid is unbelievable.
Yeah, Your slide was going to him. You had the tight end or halfback chipping him, and then the quarterback fled the pocket, and he ran. I mean, he ran 50 yards that play and defeated 3 defenders. I mean, that was incredible.
It's these guys, and you want to make sure you go ahead, Phil, on number 3, but want to make sure we give a lot of credit to the interior too. Those guys have been just outstanding through the first quarter of the season. Speaking of that interior, there's the stop on 4th and 1.
Yeah, I mean, this goes to show you how confident Kentucky is in their offense to like execute throwing the football. I mean, this to me was like they had a chance. I mean, it's 4th and 1 at your own 30. Nobody does this.
Especially
especially it was a middle second quarter, beginning of second quarter. This just goes to show that they realize that if there's an opportunity for us to try to steal one, we got to steal one because we can't hang with these guys. But what you see here is you see Boogie and Tonka just going low. We used to call that jackknifing. So just jackknifing the defensive tackle or offensive lineman, just creating a pile. Then you see 17 and 18, the 2 backers just basically coming in there and creating a wall. And then, I mean, Luke, that's a great picture. That's Luke Day, the strength and conditioning coordinator at South Carolina. That's a win for him right there. That's a play where he can pat himself on the back for all the offseason, winter workouts, summer workouts, and all that. So it's a big play. That has not been something historically that South Carolina has done over the last couple of years to stop the run. And we just shoved it right up there, you know what, and then followed it up with a touchdown pass here. And I believe this is the one right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on to number 4 here. This would be the touchdown to Josh Simon.
Yep. I mean, really cool concept here. This is a concept that is in almost every team's playbook, 3x1 verts. So you have your outside receiver trying to hold the cornerback, so outside release. And then you have 2 and 3. So number 3 is running a quick through, and number 2 is reading the seam. So if it's 3 deep, so middle of the field closed, you're hitting number 2 like Josh Simon here. But if it's middle of field open, so 2 high, then you're looking for the middle seam. So that would have been Michael Smith right here. So, but cool thing here is we ran out of it, like we switched. So put some confusion on the buzz defender, the hash defender, the guy right there on the hash, and had guy cross his face and another guy flood right to him. So, I mean, beautiful play call. I mean, you're in cover three buzz strong, released inside, and then as soon as you carry that backer, I mean, it's wide open hole shot right there. So, beautiful play call.
Pause that real quick, Phil. If you can pause it there. Hey, can you back up just a tad? I want to ask you about something here, Pat, because Rocket Sanders obviously open out here in the flat.
Yeah.
So what kind of explain that part of it? Because when this play was being played out live, I didn't even see Josh Simon.
So you got the deep third over there on the 10-yard line on the far side of the field. You got the flat defender just outside the hash. And then you have the hook curl defender on the hash. And then you have the middle of the field safety right there in the middle of the field. So, I mean, Rocket is holding the flat defender, and then you carry the hash defender right there, the hook curl, and then just honey shot right over the top.
What sticks out to me, Pat, on both these plays, and you could, I mean, even if they had to go swing it to Sanders in the flat, that's a big gain too. Like they clearly Brad White's a long time, very well respected defensive coordinator at Kentucky. Done a lot of good things. But I'm watching receivers run open on these plays, like really open. So clearly they saw some things leading up to this game that they knew they had schematically some areas where they could exploit Kentucky defensively.
Yeah, I mean, if you send four to a side, it's tough to defend in the pass game standpoint, especially if you can hold up. And that was four guys flowing to one side. That's why they had to keep that flat defender out there, and the hook curl defender was in jeopardy. So no, I mean, I think these are, Dow plays in the NFL for a long time, so there's a lot of NFL concepts that have become kind of standard in college football at this point. When before I feel like it was a lot more dumbed down football. These players are held to a higher standard than I think they used to be from a preparation standpoint. I was one of them. So I think that just goes into kind of the NFL model. I mean, you look at an off-season program for college universities now, like they have essentially phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. They're doing 3 to 4 installs. They're expecting players to come back in the afternoon and watch tape. They have iPads to bring home. I would imagine that the university is tracking if the players are watching their iPad and studying tape. Not that they can mandate them to, but I think they could nudge them and be like, "Hey, did you watch that clip I sent you? Yes or no? Okay, you're full of it. Okay, you're going to stay on the bench." So accountability. Sorry, my honesty.
Well, but it's true though. It is kind of scary, actually. It's even scarier that they have these tablets in kindergarten now, but we'll save that for another day. All right, up 24-6 here, the opening play of the fourth quarter, Pat, and this sealed it.
Yeah, I mean, we rush 4, have 7 deep, and they're in a max pro. This is just a tough situation for the quarterback. Not too many holes in a defense when you drop 7 and you only have 2 running routes. So, and you can tell he's in panic mode. Like he's had pressure on him all day. He's tired of getting his freaking face smashed in by our defensive line. And he goes to get it out quick. And I mean, he throws it in a sea of white. I think there was 4 guys in that clip right there that he tried to throw it through, but Nick makes a great play. Nick's long, athletic, physical player, but he makes a great play on the ball and brings it home. I mean, he's a Columbia boy. He's a guy that, was a late offer, and tell you what, we're glad we did because he's done some really good stuff.
You know what was impressive about this interception here was how cleanly he caught the football. I mean, it was a missile coming out of him.
High rocky, yeah.
Yep, and he didn't bobble it, juggle it, nothing. The ball just stuck in his hands. The dude's a football player.
Well, you see him there. He's in run support, so run action at him. He's coming downhill. He's a C-gap defender there, and then once he sees it's a play fake, he gets into his panic drop and buzzes back and just falls right into like you said, a freaking missile right over his head that he goes and makes a great play on.
The ball doesn't even move once it hits his hands. Man, Nick Eamon, an All-American in his career at South Carolina, and now named SEC Defensive Player of the Week. alongside Kai Kroger, who was named that from special teams. All right, so now LSU comes to town. That concludes our film room session there with our film room guru from the NFL Network, Pat DiMarco. So now here comes LSU, Pat, and you've got a different deal coming here. I think LSU's offensive line is much better than Kentucky's. Their quarterback is much better than Kentucky's. I'm pretty sure at this point in time, probably everybody's is going to be. I don't know if Vandergrift's going to be that bad all year, but he wasn't good the other day. But LSU's got some bad news. Their best defensive tackle now out for the season. We just got that this morning. Their starting tailback, who was ruled out for the rest of the year with a torn ACL last week. They're going to try to throw the football, Pat. So it seems without saying that if Carolina's defensive line can play well up front against that offensive line of the Tigers, boy, they're going to put themselves in a pretty good spot to go 3-0, right?
Yeah, I mean, up front, I think that's been our strongest suit so far defensively. I mean, we haven't been challenged. We got challenged once in the ODU game on a deep ball. Other than that, we played really well in the secondary, and then we didn't get challenged at all against Kentucky throwing the football. The 1.2 passer rating kind of makes that statement. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their stats. The quarterback is completing about 75% of passes. He has 610 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick through 2 games. And then, like you said, it's kind of a running back by committee because they lost their starter. But, you know, they lost a close one to a good USC team week 1. And now and then last week beat Nickel 44-21. I mean, that's 21 points given up to a team like that that's not encouraging. So, no, I think they're in for a dogfight. Coming to Columbia, especially College game day. Last time game day was here was 2014, and we played Missouri and lost in a nail biter there. I think College game day came to the Bama game in 2010, my senior year, which was absolutely epic. So I expect, you know, Beamer to continue to ride this high. I mean, he is like the culture that he's been preaching about and talking about. You kind of saw it on Saturday, how the team connected and played for each other and played complimentary football. He was pissed after week 1 ODU and not playing as well as we could have, but he also stated that the locker room was going to be pretty pissed too, and that the standard was not met from their standpoint too. And they came out and answered the critics and some.
Pat, Kyron Lacey is a dude. He's a matchup problem for most. What do you expect Carolina to do in the secondary to help neutralize him?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll definitely have to bracket him a little bit, have a little safety help over the top. But I also know Clayton White. Clayton White runs a lot of quarters and pressures a lot, especially in situations where you're going to pass the ball. He doesn't want you to sit back there and pat it, and get into a situation where you're getting scramble drills. He wants to make you get the ball out of your hands fast. So, I mean, I think who would you say is our do we have a lockdown corner? Do we have a guy like Cam Smith or Darius Rush that –
I think O'Donnell Fortune is going to draw Kyron Lacey this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, if OD's the guy, then he's going to be the guy that's going to match up. But I would imagine we'll have another set of eyes spying him.
Yeah, it'll help over the top.
Well, and how much does it help too? I mean, John mentioned this earlier, and Pat, you've mentioned this time and time again. I know we'll get you out of here in the next 2 minutes, but it's tremendous when you can rush just 4 and get pressure like they're doing, and it changes everything defensively.
I mean, if you can create pressure with 4, like there's nowhere to go in the zone. Like, especially if you got to get it out fast. A lot of these routes they take. I mean, these deep progression routes are 5-step drops, back foot, step up, then throw. I mean, it's not 5 steps, get the freaking ball out of your hand before your soul gets smashed by Dylan Stewart. Like, that's just not in the playbook. And if we can, I mean, not to mention, like, he mixes it up, like, with quarters, and I mean, we bring 0 a decent amount. We bring a lot of 1 pressure. So I think as long as our DBs stay on top, we're going to be in a good situation this week.
final thought here on the offensive side. Again, they made some progress this weekend. Rocket got his yards late when they mattered. Had some protection issues on the perimeter. Some tight ends are having a difficult time out there, Pat. They're missing some guys here, and they got to get that cleaned up. There's no doubt about it. But overall, what's the next step? Where does this thing need to go over the next few days to take another big one against the Bayou Bengals on Saturday?
I think you just continue to lean into the run game and let, Rocket Sanders, who's been effective so far this year, let him attract the attention, and then let those fast young receivers go out there and do their thing. I mean, we're big up front. I mean, our offensive line is large. They can move people. And I also think a part of that is, like, don't force Lenore to run the ball 20 times a game, but, like, he can scoot with his legs, but also let him break the pocket like we saw in a couple of those plays on Saturday. He is more effective when he's on the move and can get creative with it.
Well, speaking of creative, this was pretty creative on your behalf, you and Steven Garcia. Coming up on Wednesday, the latest episode of Tailgate Talks is going to be released early that morning. Folks have been wondering and mentioning this. They've been joking about this for now 16 years, because it happened in 2008 against LSU when they were in Columbia Williams-Brice Stadium. And I'll let you take it from there. Who is one of the special guests this week?
This one's a double whammy, because this guy actually played at Kentucky, and then he was the 12th defender on the field for one game at LSU. So Wilbur Hackett Jr. Is going to be our guest this week. And how much fun was that? Raise your hand if you know who Wilbur Hackett Jr. is. Nobody. Yeah, you guys do now. But if you say that name in random conversation, everyone's going to look at you like you're crazy. But everyone will have to tune in on Wednesday. I think we dropped a little hint on our social media page too about it. So it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Steve and I have had a blast doing it. You guys have been a huge help. Hopefully you guys have been tuning in because it's been a lot of fun to stay in the game outside of coaching, because I did that for 2 years and just wasn't for me, but this keeps me involved in football and lets me catch up with my old college roommate. And, I think it's something that the Gamecock fans have always wanted to hear, some of these stories that are stupid and nobody would have thought about, that Steven and I can bring to life.
It's good stuff.
This one's going to have a lot of life to it. Yep, we're aware. So looking forward to it. Pat, always thanks for the time, my man. I know that you and I got to connect on some things a little bit later, and we'll do that certainly. But wonderful segment as always. Carolina is 2-0, and I'll be up Friday, so I'll see you then. Beers are on me.
Let's do it.
What's his name once said? What's the guy's name? Anyways, it doesn't matter. But they're on me. I got you Friday. All right. See you, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
always.
Pat.
There you go, Pat DiMarco.